What if I told you that being ignored by a woman is not just frustrating, but a powerful test of your emotional strength? It may sound harsh, but the truth is this: how you respond in these moments can make or break her perception of you. The reality is that many men fail this test miserably. They panic, they chase, or they overanalyze every little thing she does, making the situation 10 times as worse. Here's the cold, hard truth. Women often ignore men not because they don't care, but because they want to see how you'll react. And let me tell you, most men react poorly. They fall into a cycle of desperation, thinking that constant messaging, emotional pleas, or even showing indifference will somehow win her back. But these moves, they're fatal to your chances. Think about it when you act out of fear or insecurity. You're only showing her that you're easily shaken. That's not attractive. Women are naturally drawn to men who are steady, confident, and in control, even in the face of silence. So, let's cut to the chase. If the chase you've ever found yourself drowning in confusion over why she's ignoring you and scrambling to figure out what to do, this video is for you. Because here's the deal: the more mistakes you make when she's pulling away, the harder it becomes to rebuild her respect or attraction. It's not about playing games, it's about mastering the art of emotional discipline. Today, we're diving deep into the 5 biggest mistakes men make when she goes silent, and trust me, these mistakes aren't just small missteps, they're colossal red flags that can completely sabotage any potential connection. If you're serious about learning how to handle this situation like a high-value man, keep watching. This isn't about manipulation, it's about self-respect and understanding the psychology behind her actions. You'll learn what not to do when she ignores you so you can keep your cool, maintain your dignity, and even turn the situation in your favor. Are you ready? Let's get into it. 1. Chasing her like a lost puppy. One of the biggest mistakes men make when a woman starts ignoring them is chasing her relentlessly. This behavior screams desperation, and desperation is the fastest way to kill attraction. Chasing her might seem like the natural thing to do. It feels like you're showing her you care, right, wrong, what you're really. The test showing her is that you're too eager, too available, and willing to compromise your self-respect just to get her attention. Women don't find this appealing. In fact, it can make them pull away even further. Let's get one thing straight when a woman ignores you. It's a test of your emotional resilience. She's observing how you'll react if you immediately go into overdrive. Tell texting her multiple times, calling her repeatedly, or showing up in her space. You're failing the test. This over-pea pursuit makes her feel smothered and confirms that you don't value yourself enough to step back and reassess. Imagine this scenario. You've been talking to a woman for a few weeks, and suddenly her responses slow down, she's no longer texting as much, and you start to feel uneasy instead of taking a step back. You send her 3 texts in a row. Hey, is everything okay? Did I do something wrong? I just feel like you're ignoring me, and I don't know why. Now pause and think about what this looks like to her, rather than coming across as a confident man who values himself. You've just broadcasted your insecurity. You're chasing her validation instead of focusing on your own worth. What's worse is that this behavior often makes her lose respect for you because it shows you lack emotional control. A better approach: do nothing seriously. Take a step back and let her be. If she's genuinely interested, she'll notice your absence and reach out when she's ready by not chasing you. Communicate strength and independence. You're saying, I don't need to beg for your attention. I know my drowning her in texts calls value, and this is far more attractive than any desperate attempt to win her over. Women are drawn to men who are steady, composed, and unbothered by small setbacks. If she's ignoring you, don't chase, instead redirect that energy into improving yourself. Hit the gym, focus on your work, or spend time with friends when she sees you thriving. Without her, she'll realize what she's missing. 2. drowning her in texts and calls when a woman ignores you. One of the worst moves you can make is overwhelming her with a flood of messages and calls. It feels tempting, you want answers, and you think reaching out will force a resolution. But let me tell you something. This approach doesn't work. In fact, it achieves the opposite effect. Constantly texting and calling only makes you look needy, insecure, and unable to handle her absence. Here's the problem. Every message you send and every call you make without a response chips away at your self-respect. You're essentially telling her your validation matters more to me than my dignity. And when a woman senses that you're this dependent on her attention, she loses interest faster than you can imagine. Women want a man who is confident and composed, not someone who crumbles at the first sign of distance picture. This she hasn't responded to your last text, and instead of giving her space, you send another. Hey, did you see my message? 10 minutes later, I just wanted to check in. Are you okay? An hour later. Why aren't you answering? Why aren't you answering? Did I do something wrong? What's happening? Here you've put all your power in her hands. She's not responding yet. You're desperately trying to force communication to her. This isn't just annoying, it's unattractive. It shows that you lack emotional control and that you're willing to sacrifice your self-worth for her attention. A smarter move is to stop and reflect. Why is she not responding? Maybe she's genuinely busy. Maybe she needs space, or maybe she's testing how you handle the situation, whatever. The reason your best response is to hold back and focus on your life. Women are far more intrigued by a man who respects himself enough to stay calm and patient, even when things feel uncertain. For instance, instead of sending a barrage of messages, send one thoughtful text and leave it at that. Hey, I hope you're doing well. Let me know when you're free to chat. That's it. Short, respectful, and confident. You're showing her that. While you're interested, you're not desperate. And by not chasing her with endless communication, you're giving her the opportunity to miss you and come back on her own terms. Remember, silence can be powerful. Use it wisely. Let her wonder what you're up to, instead of making it obvious that you're glued to your phone waiting for her response. That's how you maintain your value and her respect. 3. Playing the silent treatment game when a woman ignores you. It's easy to feel tempted to play the same game. You think, if she's not talking to me, I'll just ignore her too. That'll show her. But here's the truth. This strategy rarely works. The silent treatment. The silent treatment isn't about being strong or confident. It's about trying to manipulate the situation, and women can see through it instantly. Let's be real. Playing the silent treatment game might feel like taking control, but it's actually a reaction rooted in hurt and frustration. You're not showing her you're mature or independent. You're just mirroring her behavior out of spite. And when that's the energy you're putting out, it's not attractive. Here's why this backfires. Women often use silence to process their emotions or test your patience. If you respond by completely shutting down communication, you're sending the message that you can't handle challenges in a relationship. You're not solving the problem, you're fueling it. Think about it. How often have you ignored someone in retaliation, hoping they'd come back to giving her space versus ignoring you? And how often did that really work? Probably not as often as you'd like to admit. That's because the silent treatment creates a communication vacuum. Instead of building understanding or trust, it builds resentment and confusion. Now let's make one thing clear. There's a difference between giving her space and deliberately ignoring her. Giving her space is about respecting her need for time and distance. Ignoring her, on the other hand, is a calculated move meant to provoke a reaction, and while it might get her attention temporarily, it won't create lasting respect or attraction. If she's ignoring you, the best approach isn't to mirror her silence, but to rise above. It show her that you're calm, composed, and capable of navigating the situation with maturity. This doesn't mean you bombard her with messages or beg for her attention. It means you carry on with your life, confidently, without letting her actions dictate your emotions. when you refuse to engage in games and instead maintain your sense of self-respect. You'll stand out as a man who knows his worth. That's far more effective than any silent treatment strategy could ever be for overanalyzing and blaming yourself when a woman starts ignoring you. Many men fall into a dangerous trap. They overanalyze everything and immediately start blaming themselves. Was it something I said? Did I text too much? Am I not good enough for her? Let me be. Am I not good enough? Brutally honest here? This kind of thinking doesn't just hurt you. It destroys your confidence and makes you look weak. Men, you need to wake up. Not everything is your fault. Sometimes a woman's silence has nothing to do with you. Maybe she's dealing with personal issues, testing your reactions, or even losing interest for reasons that have nothing to do with your worth. Yet, instead of focusing on what you can control, you waste time obsessing over things you cannot change. Overanalyzing every detail isn't just pointless. It's exhausting. You replay conversations in your head, dissect her every word or emoji, and convince yourself that you are the problem. This self-critical loop is not only mentally draining, but it also puts you in a low-value mindset. Women don't want a man who's insecure or constantly doubting himself. They're attracted to confidence, strength, and self-assurance. Here's the hard truth: if you keep blaming yourself, every time something doesn't go as planned, you're giving away all your power. You're letting her actions define your self-worth, and that's not just unattractive, it's unhealthy. Why should someone's temporary silence hold so much control over your emotional state instead of falling into this trap shift? Your perspective, ask yourself, why am I putting so much weight on her behavior? Focus on what makes you a high-value man, your goals, your passions, your growth. A confident man doesn't dwell on every little misstep. He learns, adapts, and moves forward. If she's ignoring, you don't sit around tearing yourself apart over it. Take a moment to reflect objectively if there's something you could have done differently. Learn from it, but don't. Let this define you. A high-value man owns his mistakes, but never lets them consume him. Wake up, guys. Women respect a man who respects himself. Stop overanalyzing, stop blaming yourself, and start focusing on becoming the best version of yourself. That's how you regain control, and that's how you stay, begging for her attention. Attractive no matter what happens. 5, begging for her attention. Let's be blunt. Begging for a woman's attention is one of the most humiliating things a man can do if she's ignoring you. And your first instinct is to plead bargain or try to convince her to notice you. You're doing nothing but eroding your self-respect. Women are hardwired to be drawn to. Confidence and begging is the exact opposite. It signals desperation and screams, I don't believe I'm good enough. Why do some men resort to this behavior? Because they've convinced themselves that her attention is the ultimate validation of their worth. They'll send long emotional texts, apologize for things they didn't even do, or make over-the-top gestures in a desperate attempt to win her back. It's not only unappealing, but also exhausting for her to deal with. Here's the thing, when you beg for her attention, you're putting her on a pedestal and lowering yourself in the process. You're telling her your approval means more to me than my check yourself self-worth. And you know what happens when someone is placed on a pedestal? They look down on you. This is where you need to check yourself. Why are you so desperate for her attention? Why are you allowing her actions, or lack of them, to define how you feel about yourself? A man who begs is a man who has lost sight of his value. And if you don't value yourself, why should she? Here's the wake-up call. Stop chasing her validation and start focusing on your own women. Respect a man who can stand tall in the face of rejection or indifference. Begging not only repels her, but it also damages the way you see yourself. You're better than this, and you need to act like it. Instead of pleading for her attention, take a step back. Let her see that you're not shaken by her silence. Focus on your goals. You'll focus on your goals, passions, and the things that make you feel alive. When you stop begging and start thriving, you shift the dynamic. You go from being someone who needs her to someone she wants to be around. A man who knows his worth doesn't beg. He stands firm, respects himself, and allows his confidence to speak louder than words. That's the kind of man she'll remember, and the kind of man you should strive to be. Let's end with this. If a woman's attention is your only source of confidence, you've already lost her and yourself. That might sting, but it's the truth. Every man needs to hear. Women are naturally drawn to strength, not desperation. If you spend your time chasing someone who ignores you, you're not just wasting your energy, you're proving that you don't value your own worth. Here's the key takeaway: focus on becoming a high-value man. Respect yourself, maintain your composure, and never let someone's temporary silence shake your foundation. The moment you stop chasing is the moment you start attracting. And trust me, that's when everything changes. I want to hear from you. Have you ever been ignored by someone you cared about? How did you handle it? Drop your experiences in the comments. I'll personally read them and respond. Let's build a space where we can connect, learn and grow together. Remember, the power lies in your hands. It's not about whether she notices you, it's about whether you notice yourself. So take the lessons we've shared here, apply them, and become the man you were always meant to be. Your worth isn't determined by her, it's determined by you.